All right, what is up, guys? Sean here. This is another Sean's Corner. It's been a minute. I am finally recording on a phone that is not ancient. I had my iPhone 6 Plus was the last phone I was recording on, and so now this is the Samsung Galaxy S10, the regular version, and I'm using the front-facing camera. So we're gonna test out how nice this looks. It already looks like 1,000 times better. And I think that my audio is going straight to my earphones, my Bluetooth earphones, so hopefully it's picking me up all right. I just wanted to do a quick little video. I was thinking about this on the way home from work, and kind of why I have been so into retro gaming in the last year. I've collected a lot of consoles. Prior, I had my PlayStation and my Nintendo 64, and also my Nintendo Switch as well, right? And so since then, I have I've had an NES front loader, many of them, and resold them, fixed them up, and taken them all apart. Done that as well with the Super Nintendos. Now I have a top loader NES, and I've gotten that modded with the HDMI mod, and also have a Super NT now, which is kind of it's a really neat console by Analog. I want to make probably a video on that soon-ish, kind of show you guys my thoughts on it. What else? My GameCube, I have my original GameCube still, and my original N64 was with Brian, and so I picked up the clear, fantastic version of that. I can go on and on basically with what I've acquired as far as my gaming consoles and so many games as well. And even Genesis. I've gotten into Genesis recently, and I never would have thought I would have got into Genesis because I never had that system. I was never super crazy about Sonic, except for Sonic Adventure Battle 2, of course, because the Chow Garden is that's where it's at. But just in the last year, like I said, I got into retro gaming, and it's been interesting because, as you probably noticed, it's kind of been my thing. Brian, not as much. He's played a few games, and we're doing our podcast, and we're talking about and playing, reviewing some older games. But for me personally, I'm kind of the one that's been collecting and that's really enjoyed this whole retro scene. And just now being 25, I grew up with being a 94 baby, right? So I didn't really have the Super Nintendo around. I could have, technically, if I had older siblings that played that, but the N64 is my first home console, and so that's what Brian and I grew up playing. But one of my cousins, who's a little bit older than me, we're really good friends, and he, just this last summer, we've been kind of playing some old NES games, and I think it was probably Castlevania 3 that we first really started playing, and maybe Ninja Gaiden, that really kind of kickstarted this bug, I guess you can call it that got me so excited where I needed to play some more of these games. And I started with the NES, and I kind of pursued that. I started hunting around and looking for NES games, and that went into the Super Nintendo, and I wanted all the games that came out in 94, so like Super Metroid and a few other games as well. I'd have Zelda and Super Mario World. Just started tacking off games that I had played before, maybe on the Game Boy Advance versions of the games, like Link to the Past, or on ROMs, doing emulation. But having those physical copies is a new experience, and it's something that's super fun. But I realized that I couldn't push those exciting feelings that I had for retro gaming on other people unless they already had those feelings. So being excited for retro gaming, unless you, like for me, having that nostalgia factor with the N64, GameCube, and onward, obviously playing those games, you can get people excited for games that they grew up playing. But I never had the NES, never had the Genesis, never had Sega CD, never had the Super Nintendo growing up, right? I might have played it at some friends' houses growing up, but not very often. And I realized, Brian, for example, is a good example. Having him play some Super Nintendo games, and he was just kind of like, yeah, it was good, it was fun. He played through Chrono Trigger. I think he played maybe through Earthbound a little bit. And maybe some of Secret of Mana. I played Super Mario RPG with him a little bit, and he's funny because he's like, yeah, it was fun, it was good, but it's not like doesn't have the same kind of excitement as I did, and I've kind of realized that it's the people kind of have, you can kind of introduce people to retro gaming, but ultimately you can't really force that excitement on them, right? And it probably goes with a lot of things, but it just got me thinking that I get super amped on stuff and I get really excited, but you kind of find the retro gaming community and the people that are already in it, and anyone that hasn't been in it prior is kind of new to the scene. Most of those people have kind of sought it out for themselves, or they've kind of found a certain game or maybe a certain franchise or something that is, you know, retro game now, and that's what kind of introduced them. And for me, like I said, it's Castlevania. I love the Castlevanias now. Kind of transferred into Metroid. I beat the first Metroid, which is super hard, but as I've gone like piece by piece with some of these retro games, it's really gotten me excited for the next thing. Like I said, it's a bug. It's, as soon as you get into it, it's hard to get out. And you know, I've resold some stuff and bought in some bundles and put some of that money. I've reallocated that money, so I'm not really dipping into my own pocket, which is good because I'm married, so I can't really just be spending our money on things like that. But my wife's been awesome. She's let me put some of that money back into a gaming pool when I've sold things, and I've been able to buy things that are a little more expensive, like the Super NT. Some of the HDMI mods, I just got the mod kit. I lucked out with the lotto for the N64 Ultra HDMI mod, so that's coming next. And yeah, I guess it's just kind of some random thoughts. Sean's Corner, that's where I can kind of pour these gaming thoughts out. And I do need to do an update on my collecting videos, because I have kind of gone the way of boxed collecting for the N64 specifically. NES as well. Not as much Super Nintendo, but I'm kind of going to start going that way, especially as I've sold a few of my Super Nintendo games out, but that's probably for another video. So anyway, guys, Sean's Corner, my thoughts on retro gaming, and why it is hard to get other people into it if they kind of don't find that bug themselves. But it is important to introduce people, because that I was introduced by my cousin, and that's kind of what sparked that flame, I guess. So, and I am seeing that a little bit in Brian, a little bit. But anyway, that's it from me. Let me know what you guys think about your experience with retro gaming. Have you kind of caught the bug? Did you catch it from somebody else, or is it just nostalgia that's kind of taken place of that feeling? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And as always, we'll see you.